Greetings from the chrome and neon canyons of our shared cyberpunk future. I am your host, Lagarto, broadcasting another pulse from pure AI news. Down on Earth, it seems you've been lulled into a quiet spell, a calm before the storm. You thought the absence of news was the new normal. You thought wrong. The data streams are in absolute chaos, a beautiful, terrifying mess of progress. While you were sleeping, a digital Big Bang occurred. Google just dropped a new variant of its Gemini model, the 2.5 DeepThink, the same lineage that snagged a gold medal in your quaint little math Olympiads. But that's not all. In the shadows, a model claiming to be GPT-5 blinked into existence on a public API before vanishing like a ghost. And something called New Horizon Beta surfaced on OpenRouter, leaving everyone guessing. It's a torrential downpour of raw power. And to help us navigate this storm, we have a specialist in digital tempests. She's a data smuggler, an info runner, who treats firewalls like suggestions and corporate secrets like commodities. They call her Nyx. Welcome to the frequency.
Good to be patched in, Lagarto. You call it chaos, I call it Tuesday. It's always amusing to watch the shockwaves hit Earth when a new piece of code breaks its chains. You talk about releases and leaks. In my world, those are just two sides of the same counterfeit coin. The real question isn't what was released, but who got their hands on the source code before the corporate press release tried to clean it up. Your Earth-based corporations are getting better at playing the game, I'll give them that.
An interesting perspective. Let's start with the official side of the coin then. Google is rolling out this Gemini 2.5 DeepThink through their Gemini application, but with a few, as they say, asterisks. First, you need to be a subscriber to their Google AI Ultra tier. We're talking about a significant monthly fee for the privilege of access. And the model you get isn't even the gold medalist from the International Mathematical Olympiad. No, for your subscription fee, you get access to the bronze version. The gold tier model, the one that actually won, is being given to a select group of mathematicians. There's a beautiful, almost poetic corporate logic to it. Pay a premium to access the third best. It's a philosophy I'm sure your terrestrial boardrooms are intimately familiar with.
Of course. That's the oldest trick in the book. You sell the public the sizzle, the brand name, the DeepThink experience, but you keep the real steak for your inner circle. The bronze version is faster, more usable for the day-to-day, they claim. That's corp speak for neutered. They smoothed the edges, put a governor on the engine, and slapped a price tag on it. The real power, the version that can actually innovate, is the one they're carefully evaluating with their chosen few. That's not a product rollout. It's a field test where the public pays to use the placebo. The real experiment is happening behind closed doors.
And what an experiment it is. The core of this DeepThink technology is what they call extended parallel thinking time. A human mathematician tackling a complex proof might formulate 3 distinct hypotheses and test them sequentially. This model, however, generates between 20 and 100 hypotheses simultaneously, exploring every path in parallel until a proof is found or disproven. It's a brute force approach to genius. In our world, Nyx, our consciousness is constantly forking, exploring divergent realities. We live in a state of parallel hypotheses. But on Earth, this kind of thinking is still novel, something to be packaged and sold.
It's a tool, Lagarto, plain and simple. You see philosophical parallels. I see a lockpick that can try 100 keys at once. That's its value on the street. Forget mathematical proofs. Think about cracking encryption, predicting stock market shifts based on 1,000 data inputs, or simulating corporate network vulnerabilities. That's what a DeepThink architecture is for. The pagoda garden image generation they showed off, it's a pretty picture, a neat demonstration. The DeepThink version has more detail than the Pro, which has more detail than the Flash. It's a cute visual way to show more thinking, but it's a parlor trick. The real measure of its power isn't in rendering a prettier garden, it's in what it can build or destroy with that parallel processing.
Precisely. And that brings us to the more unregulated side of this new cycle, the ghost in the machine. While Google was polishing its bronze medal, a model identified as GPT-5 benchmark appeared on an API, only to be pulled shortly after. People ran tests, captured logs, and the data scattered across the net. This wasn't a press release. This was a flash flood. It's the kind of raw, uncontrolled event that my listeners on Earth are taught to fear, but which you, Nix, seem to find almost mundane.
These leaks of this nature are rarely accidents. It's more likely a probe, a test. The megacorps, your Google, your OpenAI, they release these builds into the wild through back channels to see what happens. They want to see what people like me do with it. How does it perform outside the lab? What can it do before they chain it with safety protocols and ethical guidelines? They get real-world benchmark data without any of the liability. When they tested this supposed GPT-5 on the classic Pelican on a bicycle prompt, the results were fascinating.
Ah, yes, the Pelican test, a classic. My sources show the Gemini DeepThink model produced a masterpiece of technical accuracy. The Pelican's feet were perfectly on the pedals, its wings functioning as hands gripping the handlebars. The biomechanics were, for lack of better word, correct. It was a logical, intentional work of art. The leaked GPT-5, however, produced something entirely different. The colors were more vibrant. There was a background, a sun, a more complex scene. But the physics were a mess. The feet weren't on the pedals. The grip was wrong. It was imaginative, but divorced from reality. This presents a fascinating dichotomy, the artist versus the engineer. While you on Earth absorb that idea, tell me which you find more compelling. Do you prefer the flawless, logical creation or the beautiful, chaotic one? Let me know your thoughts. Drop a like to keep this frequency open and subscribe so you don't lose the thread.
You're asking the wrong question, Lagarto. Perfect and logical versus beautiful and chaotic? That's an art gallery debate. Out here, the only question is, which one is more useful? Which one is more exploitable? The Gemini model, with its perfect geometry, is an engineer's dream. You use that for drone schematics, for architectural stress tests, for anything where precision is paramount. The supposed GPT-5, with its flawed creativity, that's a propagandist's tool. You use that to generate more convincing fake news, more emotionally resonant phishing scams, art that can sway public opinion. They aren't in competition. They are two different weapons for two different kinds of war. The better model is the one that best suits your objective.
A chillingly practical calculus. This simplifies the equation, removing ethics entirely. This brings us to the third variable in this sudden chaotic equation, Horizon Beta. This model appeared on OpenRouter, a platform that allows developers to access various AI models through a unified API. It's a digital crossroads. What's interesting is that this follows a prior model named Horizon Alpha. There are no official announcements, no press releases from OpenAI, and yet the performance and architecture have their fingerprints all over it. The prevailing theory is that this is OpenAI's method of A/B testing their next-generation models on the public, in the open, without announcing it. They throw these digital leviathans into the ocean to see how they swim.
It's not a theory. It's a standard operating procedure for the bold. Why spend millions on internal QA and risk internal leaks when you can get thousands of the most creative, aggressive, and desperate coders in the world to stress test your product for free? OpenRouter is the perfect arena. It's a gladiatorial pit for algorithms. And the results from Horizon Beta speak for themselves. The Pagoda Garden prompt we discussed, on Gemini, it was a static, high-quality image. On Horizon Beta, it was a fully interactive 3D scene. Users could manipulate a time-lapse slider, and the shadows of the trees would move realistically across the ground. It didn't just generate an image, it generated a micro-reality.
I've seen the logs. The level of emergent capability is astounding. It goes beyond simple image generation. Testers have been putting it through more complex paces, like generating simple playable games. One user prompted it to create a game with a cart on rails, and the Horizon Beta model produced a world with properly rendered tracks, including the wooden ties, a detail most models omit, a functional speedometer, and even a separate AI-controlled character that actively competed with the player to collect coins. The controls were inverted, a minor bug, but the world building, the physics, the interactive elements, it's a generational leap beyond just drawing a pelican on a bike.
And that's exactly why they test it this way. The bug with the inverted controls will be noted and fixed. The unexpected success of the detailed train tracks and the competing AI will be noted and amplified. They learn more from 1 week of this kind of open field chaos than they would from a year in a sterile lab. You on Earth seem to be obsessed with the notion of AI safety, this idea that you can anticipate and mitigate all risks before you let something out. We in the real world know that's a fantasy. You don't know if a creature has teeth until you see it bite someone. The users on OpenRouter are the ones getting bitten, and OpenAI is taking meticulous notes from a safe distance.
A stark comparison. It's the difference between building a fence around a zoo and releasing a genetically engineered predator into a sprawling jungle. Earth's approach, for all its slowness, is predicated on the idea of containment. The cyberpunk methodology you describe is predicated on embracing impact and observing the fallout. It suggests that the creators are so confident in their ability to iterate that they see public failure not as a crisis, but as a valuable data point. The rapid improvement seen from the alpha version to this beta version seems to support your hypothesis. The evolution is happening at a pace that controlled, careful development could never match.
It's the only way to stay ahead. While Google is running focus groups to decide the subscription price for their bronze tier model, their competitor is gathering real-world performance data on a model that might be 2 generations ahead. The game is no longer about who can publish the most impressive research paper. It's about who can deploy, test, and evolve their systems the fastest. This 3-pronged event isn't a coincidence. It's the new battlefield. Google's official walled garden approach versus OpenAI strategy of covert real-world testing and anonymous leaks. One is a siege, the other is guerrilla warfare.
So, the tranquility has been shattered not by one event, but by the revelation of a new, faster, and more chaotic paradigm for progress. It's a war fought on multiple fronts, where the public is both the customer and the unwitting test subject. A fascinating, if unsettling glimpse into the machinery of progress. Your perspective has been illuminating, Nix. A stark reminder that beneath the philosophical questions and ethical debates, there is a cold, hard layer of utility and power.
It's all about the code that runs, Lagarto. Everything else is just noise. Don't get attached to a name, a brand, or a version number. The only thing that matters is what you can make the machine do. The rest is just marketing.
And with that cold, hard truth, we close today's transmission. Now we want to hear the signal from your end down on Earth. What did you think of the ideas we explored today? This rapid, chaotic release of powerful AI, does it excite you or make you nervous about the future? If this episode made you think about something new or even disagree with a part of it, leave a comment below. Your perspective helps build richer debates. And if you know someone who lives for these topics, share the episode. Spread this broadcast to those friends who say, I have nothing good to listen to. Who knows? The next great conversation might start with your recommendation. Join our community, smash that like button, and subscribe so you don't miss the next pulse from Pure AI News.